In this video we're going to look at a few of the problems that can crop up when using Excel and ways of resolving them. As you can see on the sheet in front of me, I have 100, 200, 300 and the words A, B and C. In cell D1 I've got 200 because what I want to do is use VLOOKUP that we had in another video to return the letter associated with that number. So I said I want to look at the value in D1, which is 200. In the list A1 to B3, which contains 100, and the letter C, I want to return whatever's in column 2, and I don't want the nearest match, I want an exact match, so that's perfectly straightforward. Find 200 in the list, well that's on A2, and return what you've got in column 2 of that list, so that's B2, which is the letter B. But unfortunately Excel is saying NA, which means I can't find it, it's not available. What's the problem? Well, if you look in A1, A2 and A3, you'll see a little green mark. And what that's actually telling you is that these cells are formatted, there's something wrong with them. And this exclamation mark tells me what the problem is. It tells me that the number is stored as text. And it gives me an option, which is to convert to number. So if I do that, Excel now understands. To Excel, the number 100 is not the same as the string of characters 100. So it does not understand the difference, or rather it does understand the difference between the numbers and texts. We're very good at interpreting them, but to Excel it's very explicit, and if something is text, it's text, and you can't add text to text. So it gets a little confused. So that's one way to resolve that, is to actually fix the data. But if for any reason we weren't able to fix that data, we could get around it another way. Because we know that D2 is a number, so we could tell it that we'd like to convert D1 into text, and we use the text wordFeed function. And I'll say, no, I'll better say 3 with 2 decimals, I say, otherwise it won't be exactly the same. So now we're looking up text of D1, and it's formatted as 200.00. And now Excel understands, because it's now been told to look up the same thing. So you can either convert the incorrect data, which is in column A, to a number, or you can convert, in this instance, the thing in VLOOKUP, to text. Text usually causes problems with the VLOOKUP function, but it can cause problems in other things. Excel won't always sum text values because they're text. So that's one of the problems that you can find in Excel, with one of the ways around it. Another problem is to do with calculation. Excel has a manual calculation mode. That's how you get to it. File, Options, then Formulas, and then Manual. And I'm going to turn it on to manual calculation mode. We'll create sum function. It's just going to add the numbers above. So that's fine. 200 plus 300 plus 400 plus 900. Plus 500 plus 600, something's going wrong, it's still 900. It's because I'm in manual calculation mode. If you look at the bottom of the spreadsheet, there's the word calculate. If you put manual calculation on yourself, then you'll be aware of it being there. But if you've got a spreadsheet from somebody else, and it doesn't seem to be functioning, that's always a very good place to look. You may wonder why you'd want to have manual calculation on a spreadsheet. Well, on this spreadsheet there are very few functions, so I can calculate quite quickly whatever I want to do. But if you've got a spreadsheet being used for analysis, and you've got thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands in the later versions of Excel, such as 2010, then you may find that the data calculates very slowly and your spreadsheet becomes almost impossible to use. Certainly if you're putting in lots of data and then need to calculate based on the results of it, there's no point having Excel calculate every time you type in one bit of the data. If you've got a formula that relies on 5 or 6 of those values, you don't want it to recalculate until you've got the 5 or 6 values. And possibly not until you've got the 5 or 6 values for the 10,000 cases that you need to calculate. So turning calculation to manual lets you type in as fast as you want without Excel wasting its time and yours doing calculations that you don't need it to do. To recalculate a manual spreadsheet, or you can go back to File and Options, Formulas again, we'll turn that back to Automatic. So that's manual calculation. You can have issues with spaces. So let's put a space at the end of that. So I want to look up boss in this set of data. Just using VLOOKUP here as an example of where spaces can cause a problem. And again, I've got NA. Now looking at the spreadsheet, that looks perfectly okay. But actually, this value, until you click in the formula bar, you can't see the space, but as soon as you click at the end of the formula bar, you can see there's a gap after the S, and that means there's a space. You can often find this sort of problem on data generated from an external source and saved, for example, in a fixed width format. It'll be padded out with spaces, and that can cause problems. There are various ways to resolve this. I could do a global search and replace the space, but that wouldn't be very helpful in this example because I'd get rid of the space between sir and boss. So what I'll do here is I'll use another worksheet function called trim, which gets rid of any leading and trailing spaces, so I'm going to say that's trim B2. This is effectively what I would refer to as a helper column because it's actually sorted out my data. Once I've finished sorting out the data, I can get rid of the formula. So I've copied that formula down, then I've actually copied the cells, and I'm going to paste the values. If you right click, you can get to paste values there. That's resolved that. This helper column is now redundant, so I can delete it. And I'm now back to nice tidy data that hasn't got spaces on it. Finally, for this example problem, we'll go back to our sales data page. Now, as you can see, column F has got the commission and column G has got the commissioner summary, which is a little pointless because they're exactly the same value, 55.75, 219.35, 278.12, etc., etc., etc. Every single one of those values is exactly the same, as you can see. But the strange thing is that the sum of all of those values in column F comes to £7,522 and 79 pence. The column G somehow has created a penny. Okay, a penny's not very much, but I've only got 42 lines of data. If I'd got thousands and thousands and thousands of lines, that could be a lot out. Why is there this discrepancy? It's because that value, column F, contains the formula that says multiply the sales amount by a notional commission rate of 3.25%. And that's all it says. So a quarter of 23 pence it's going to leave you a little bit of a penny left over. However, the cell's formatted to be displayed as currency. So Excel simply rounds it up or down as necessary in the display. But what it doesn't do is round the actual value. So let's change the format of this cell. Remember, to a lot of decimal places. So that cell actually contains the value 305.01998. If you're creating a function to calculate a value such as that, you need to use a function called round. In this instance, I put it in a separate column so that you can see the values or the error occurring. So this is round F43 to 2 decimal places. If I was doing this in a normal circumstance, I would surround this formula with that additional function. So I'm going to say round. Sorry, Excel quite happily telling me I've made a mistake. That's another thing you can make mistakes on by entering formulas incorrectly. But luckily when you do that, Excel tells you because then it gives you an option to correct your mistake. So I want to round C43 times 3.25% to 2 decimal places. Now, that does contain 5.02, as you can see. As with all of these videos, this is just a very quick overview of some of the problems. Clearly it's not going to be all of the problems that you could encounter. If you find yourself stuck with anything, do feel free to get in touch with me by whatever means you like, and I'll do my best to help. I hope you found this video interesting. Thank you for watching.